Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Cafe Bagheri. You know how over 95% of the recipes and dishes that I have featured on this channel are Persian, and I love them all, right? But there are certain dishes that I have cooked for you here that are not Iranian, they're not Persian, and I love, and that's the reason I featured. Everything I cook for you here are stuff that I love to eat. One of those items is grilled chicken tikka masala. This item is based on an Indian recipe. The ingredients and the techniques used in this dish are Indian, and the exact origin of it is still subject to some debate. But what we know based on reports that we have, it was invented or put together in sometime in late 1960s or 70s in the UK, in Glasgow, by a Bangladeshi chef who made this because his customers in the restaurant where he worked, they complained that the chicken he served was too dry, didn't have enough moisture. So he came up with this recipe with this tomato-based broth, and then cook the chicken separately and finish it in the broth and serve it with rice or with naan. And it's absolutely delicious. We don't know if this is that same exact recipe, but it's wonderful as we have it today. I have made some changes. Specifically, I grilled the chicken on skewers, Persian style, and then add them to the dish. And I think it's delicious. It adds a special level of char and smokiness that we love around here, and I think you're gonna find it delightful as well. So let's make some grilled chicken tikka masala together, shall we? There are 3 steps to this very simple and delicious recipe. First, we prepare the chicken, and that involves making the marinade, cutting up the chicken, marinating, and then cook it. Second part is to make the tomato stew, the masala stew. And the third part is to, while the tomato stew is simmering, we add the cooked chicken to it and let them melt and simmer and finalize, and you're ready to serve. Now we're gonna start by making our marinade. I have the spices all lined up here, and the recipe, as always, is in the comments below, in the YouTube's comments section. And I'll pin it so it's at the top. If you scroll down, you should see it right away. We're going to start with our yogurt. I use low-fat Greek yogurt. Now we're going to add the spices, one after another. There are some characteristic components to this marinade, which is the typical spices you find in Indian food. Some of them are also seen commonly in Persian cooking, like cardamom, turmeric, cumin. Those are common, and they're used here. Now we have salt and pepper also, other than the spices that I just added. We use fresh garlic and ginger, and I have a micro plane grater here that I'm going to use. This is what we end up with as our marinade. Very tasty. Now we need to cut up the chicken to put it in the marinade. There are several ways that people cook the chicken for the tikka masala recipe. One is obviously to cook it in a skillet. You can cook it in the oven, broil it, if you will, grill it in the oven. What I'm going to do is cut up this chicken in pieces small enough that I can put on a skewer and then grill on the grill outside before adding it to the tikka masala stew. So that's the little bit of different that Cafe Bagheri brings to this, hence the grilled chicken tikka masala. what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut our chicken to pieces appropriate to go on the skewer. You see that we're using the boneless, skinless chicken thighs, which are preferred for this dish because they have more fat and flavor. If you like to use, or if you have chicken breast, that's fine too, you can use it. Just know that chicken thigh generally has more flavor and moisture, so it's preferred for this recipe. So chicken thighs can be different sizes depending on the size of the chicken. This is the largest one, for example, and this is a small one. Generally, what you want to do is make a piece about the size of an old-fashioned matchbox, and that would be appropriate for putting on a skewer to grill on fire. Now, some of this extra fat that's on the larger pieces, you want to trim. And now we're going to bring our marinade right here and add all the cut up chicken to it. Now we're going to mix all of this to make sure the marinade gets all over every piece of chicken in here. We're going to cover this and put it in the fridge for a minimum of 1 hour, although the longer it marinates, the tastier it gets. So ideally, you want to make this today and then put it in the fridge and make your tikka masala stew the next day. While my chicken is marinating in the fridge, I'm going to start prepping the ingredients for the masala stew. First thing to do is to get a large onion. White or yellow onion will do. This one's a white onion that I had here in the kitchen. So we're gonna do a fine dice of this onion and get ready for the pot of stew. The recipe also calls for ground almonds. You need to blanch the almonds, which involves boiling it for a couple of minutes and then letting them cool in a colander and then take off the skins. You could also buy skinned almonds from the market, but blanching them is no big deal. Very easy to do. Once you dry the almonds, you roast them in a teaspoon of oil for 4 or 5 minutes on the stovetop, and they're ready to go. You let them cool, which is what I've done right now in this bowl. They still have some of the oil from when I was roasting them, so you basically just use a paper towel or a kitchen towel and get some of that oil off. So we're gonna put all the blanched almonds in there, and we're gonna pulse them until we have a coarse mixture. There. This is what we're looking for. This is going to give our food, our tikka masala, a kind of a thickness and base of flavor that we're looking for. All right, I'm excited about this part. We need to start our tikka masala stew, the tomato stew. I'm gonna start this thick bottom Dutch oven that I use for my Persian horeshas or any stews that I make. I'm gonna start it on medium and then let it heat up for a couple of minutes. I'm gonna squirt a couple of tablespoons of a neutral vegetable oil. So we're gonna let this oil heat to the point where it shimmers. What I am doing now, I'm gonna add the 1 white onion that I finely diced. We're gonna let this cook on medium for about a minute, enough for the onions to get translucent somewhat. We do not want to get any kind of golden edges or any kind of color on the onion in this case. And always, whenever you stir whatever you're cooking, do a little shaking to equalize the surface. That ensures that whatever you have in the pot is getting equal, consistent amount of heat from the bottom of your pot. You don't have that inconsistency. Now it's time to add fresh ginger and garlic. Okay, we're still on medium heat for the onion, garlic, and ginger to completely establish their flavors together. And for us to move to the next stage, we need about 7-8 minutes on medium heat. And once about a minute, you want to stir and let it cook. And now we're going to add our spices. I got some fine garam masala. Please see the recipe below, as always. We got some chili powder and some cayenne. Cayenne is mostly where you adjust and dial up and down the spice and heat in this tikka masala stew. We cook the onions about a minute more with the spices added. Now we're going to add the tomatoes. The objective with the tomato ingredient mainly is to select a product that has no skin, because tomato skins don't dissolve in the final stew. The easiest way to do, as I show you here, is to get whole skin tomatoes in a 28-ounce can. It's easy to find in North America or Europe in grocery stores. And then you chop up the whole tomatoes that are skinless and put them back in the tomato juice and add it to the stew. There. And of course, every time you're gonna stir what's in your pot and equalize. It's looking pretty. Then we put salt and pepper in mixture with tomatoes and stir well. We're gonna put the lid on, make sure it's centered. This next ingredient is my own addition to chicken tikka masala. A while back I decided this dish needed a little more body and sustenance as a stew, and came up with the idea of dicing a russet potato. You can do it with any other kind of potato, and adding it to the stew. Somewhere in the process I dice it in 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch sized cubes. Real easy, and it's a great improvement. And now we'll let this thing cook for about another 20 minutes on the same temperature. A couple of minutes into your time after potatoes, you're gonna add 1/2 teaspoon of sugar, and we're gonna put about 10 ounces of warm or hot water. We're gonna stir again, and we're looking pretty good here. It smells heavenly and it looks good. We're gonna let it go for the rest of the 20 minutes that we had set. Look at this. So the stew is slightly reduced. We're going to immediately reduce it to low. And now we're going to add the ground almonds. We're gonna add the cup of heavy cream. We're gonna do 10 more minutes on low temperature. Tikka masala tomato stew is all but ready. We're going to taste and do a final salt and pepper adjustment. Be careful not to burn yourself. Oh, it's good. It's good. Doesn't need any adjustments. Now it's time to cook the chicken. We're gonna use the grill outside. I have the chicken marinating here, and the first thing we do is clean off the marinade from the pieces of chicken. You want to clean them off as much as possible. You don't need to wash it or anything, but you don't want it to be drenched in the marinade material. So I'm using a kitchen paper towel to clean the pieces real quick. And then I have my standard skewers that I use for my Persian kebabs. They're 1/2-inch skewers. The tikka masala tomato stew is warm and ready on the cooktop, and we're gonna grill the chicken and then add it to the stew. And if your marinade was right, you do not need to worry about salt, pepper, or anything else on these pieces of chicken on the skewer. Remember, you adjust the salt and pepper in the stew. And right before we serve, we're gonna do another taste adjustment for spices, salt and pepper. There is my chicken skewers. See, we're getting some dark spots on the edges and outer surface. That's what we're looking for. A total of 10 to 12 minutes at 400 to 450 on your gas or charcoal grill is all you need. So you notice I'm cooking the chicken for tikka masala on a gas grill. My preference for the char and smoky flavor that I want to introduce to the chicken is to cook it on my charcoal grill. But today is really hot in Dallas, Texas. We're over 100 degrees, and I didn't really want to jack with a fire grill. So I'm going with my gas grill and still get some of the char and smoke that I need on the outer edges, because I'm using fire instead of doing it in an oven under a broiler or in a skillet. And I think we have a good amount of char, and we let the chicken cook internally. I'm gonna use a piece of paper towel. Usually for Persian kebabs, we use a little piece of flatbread or naan. It's awesome, the smell is wonderful. All right, our tikka masala flavored Joojeh chicken is ready off the grill. Here's the deal. So the way we cut the chicken pieces, they're about this big each. You could throw these all at this size in your tikka masala stew and serve it. For me, I'll usually cut them into 1 or 2 more pieces so that they're well distributed and each person gets smaller pieces in most of their portions. So here, I'm gonna throw them back on the board and cut them so I can smell the smokiness off the fire, which is the point of doing this on the grill. Our stew is ready. It's simmering. Lowered, okay. And I'm gonna put all the chicken off the grill into that with the juices accumulated in the plate. I'm going to stir it all in. All right, we now have everything in here. The final stage is to let the tikka masala stew with the chicken simmer about 10 minutes and we're ready to serve. 10 minutes is over. One final check. So you do a final stir, and right before you serve this tikka masala, you want to do a test of salt and pepper. Again, don't burn yourself. It's perfect. It's where it needs to be. Now we're gonna serve it and enjoy it. Here it is, my grilled chicken tikka masala. Truly one of my all-time favorites. In fact, this dish is in the list of my final meals. My wife laughs at me when I say this, but it's true. The idea is, if I knew I was going to die tomorrow, what would I eat for dinner? This, my friends, is one of those. So please go ahead and make your version of chicken tikka masala. I think the char and the character that grilling on fire adds to the chicken before adding is definitely something you should try if you don't already do it. And it's very delicious. My friends are all around the world, especially from the subcontinent, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Please leave a comment, let me know if you make your own version a different way and what is your experience with that. Also from the UK, where this version of the dish originated supposedly, go ahead and comment. If you like this video, please like below. And if you are not subscribed yet, which is very unlikely, please subscribe and hit that little bell button so we can keep in touch. And I will see you right here at Cafe Bagheri very, very soon.